Welcome back, everybody, to Glam and Grind. I'm Rach,
And I'm Julz.
and we are on episode 11. And this week, we are going to talk about mastering mentorship in life and also in business and in your companies. So, I think we're just going to start with, I would like to start with just mentorship in life because we've talked about this a lot, but I would not be where I am today without the mentors, you, Julie, and other mentors that I have in my life. I call them champions. And to get me where I need to be. But you always have to have mentors, but also a group of mentors. So I just want to talk tiny bit about our group, Wealth Masters, which is Julie's group. And we just have this group of people. Yesterday, for example, we had there in our group, somebody had an issue that they were dealing with, an HR issue. And when you have a group, normally it's the leader that's answering all the questions or bringing you all the resources and all of that. But when you have a group of mentors, a group of people that you learn from, then other people come in. So we had another member of the group who had answers. And so it just helped bring everybody together and learn more. And that's how important it is to have a group of mentors in your circle that you're constantly learning from. And people like Julie who are bringing, like I said this week when we were having a meeting with our mentor group, it's always an opportunity to grow your network. So whether it's a special speaker that you're learning from or from each other, but you're going to learn more from mentors than you will from reading a book or taking a college course or anything else. So mentorship is super important in life.
And I'm just going to add like a couple things to what Rachel said. But first, I think we need to focus on what is mentorship versus what is coaching, because those are two very different things. In my Wealth Masters group, my intention was to have a really close-knit group that could be peer mentees to each other as well, right? Inevitably, going forward, I hope that those relationships continue and that network is available for not just the moment in time, right? So my idea would be that it would be a long-term relationship moving forward for even if and when they left our mentorship group, right? So I feel like coaching is very tactical, very procedural, and very task oriented, where mentorship for me means more guidance, support, advice in numerous aspects of your growth, right? So it's not just, hey, one part of my life. I feel like mentorship should be holistic. Like some mentees call me about stuff that's going on in their life, in their business, with their kids, maybe with their employees. So it's like professional as well as family, as well as personal. So I feel like obviously mentorships, there's going to be one main thing usually that you're looking for in the mentorship, but the people around you are going to be a really important part of that lasting mentorship relationship. And so I think a lot of folks don't understand the difference with achieving or acquiring one coach versus a mentor, and so I think just mentioning the difference between mentorship and coaching, I think is really important to start the conversation, because we have a lot of things to talk about around mentorship. But I don't want people to think that mentorship is just, like just this one track, task oriented. I'm going to give you goals. We're going to try to complete them. Yes, that's part of mentorship, obviously. But our insight, my experience, and hopefully my wisdom helps guide you in all the areas. Like I've made a ton of mistakes. So I'm hoping in our mentorship group that we're able to help people condense the timeline. By me doing that, other people in the group are now doing that, and they can help other people do that, right? So the impact and the abundance will be greater that way. So I just wanted to mention that about mentorships versus a coach.
Yeah. And when you get the opportunity you need to have mentors, but you also need to give back. And that's what I love doing too, is being a mentor to other people. And the three steps to being a good mentor are that you have active listening, that you're actually listening to what your people are saying to you. And you're not just like, yeah, here's an answer, active listening. And then availability. So being not necessarily physically available, but present, emotionally available, ready to listen, and also analysis. So checking back and saying, here, hey, how did you handle this situation? Do you need any more resources? Can I hook you up with somebody else to follow up in this situation? So those 3 steps are important to mentoring. Then you can build that relationship. And like Julie said, it's not just coaching, it's more of that follow through and that full circle moment so that you're able to help them grow and learn.
Yeah, like I see a mentee for me or a mentorship. Like when I'm looking for a mentor, I guess I need to say, I'm looking for someone that I can emulate in all areas. I want a role model. I want them to be someone that I can basically follow their behaviors, their attitude, their mission, vision, values, like something that we align with. I need to be aligned with my mentor. I need to feel like that person is exactly where I want to be. And
Yeah.
if the person is not where I want to be, then it's a challenge for me because I feel like my growth or limiting beliefs will be stunted if I'm not looking or a part of a mentorship that really is true to who I am and what I want in my life. And I think a lot of people pick coaches and mentorships based on what other people want or what they think they want, but you really need to do some like deep cleaning of yourself to see like, hey, what is it that I want? Do I value what she values or he values? Is her behavior or attitudes what I want to be like? You know, I just feel like it's more of a personal holistic piece for me rather than like a coach. I have had lots of coaches, but
Yeah.
I don't want to be like them. You know, like there's coaches that have helped me, but there's no way I want to live the life they're living, or I don't want to even have the behaviors or attitudes or scarcity mindset thinking, like a lot of things that just don't align with me. So I appreciate the coaching that they gave me in the period of time that I needed it, but it's not a lasting relationship that I see me emulating, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
mhm.
And I think there's different types of mentors that you need in your life too. Like, you have your business mentors, and then you have, which could be personal mentors as well, but also you might have a spiritual mentor, somebody that you say, hey, can you pray for me? Or, hey, I'm having this struggle, and they send you a Bible verse or, something like that. So I think it just depends on where you're at in life, but mentors are just really important and in life, but also in business, which I want to talk about that today too. In your When you were growing, Julie, what were some challenges that you had before you knew? And I can talk about that too, before you knew that mentorship was so valuable and so important in your business.
Yeah, so I talked about a few things about this on a podcast I was recently on because I had a similar question sort of thrown at me, and I had to really think about, okay, when I was in this position, right? Because in different times in your life, you need different things. And so one of the things I would say is that my first 10 years of business, and I've said this before, took me a really long time for a lot of reasons, like not enough cash, not enough mentorship, not enough whatever, right?
Mhm.
But we didn't have the ability even to have mentorships, especially industry specific. Like, so I was talking to someone about when we were looking for help in our business. We went to the Chamber of Commerce and they were like, here's some things to read, no, and they would only allow one person from each industry in the group because that's how the mindset was. Like, we don't want competition. We
Oh
don't want
yeah.
to be competitive. We don't want this. And so I think the challenge for me was even finding anybody that I could emulate. I remember there was a woman who had like what I felt like were really high end childcare centers in our town. And I was like, and she always was beautiful and so eloquently dressed and just the way she spoke. I was like, wow, one day, like, I want to be like Cheryl. And if she if she reads this or hears this, she's gonna know. She took me to lunch one day and I was like, oh my gosh, like she's actually taking me to lunch. Like, and I still respect her greatly, right? But it was a time where it was really challenging to find anybody, right? So as I grew, that was one of my biggest challenges was finding mentorships, coaching, someone to emulate, period, right? And then as I grew, I became that person for so many people. And so trying to pass down to them what the most helpful things they could do would be, right? So as you're growing your leadership team, and you'll talk about this, and as I grew like one location to another, then another, I realized I needed more people that could emulate what I was bringing to the plate and take that from me into their own either location or into their teams. And so the transfer of that was a challenge for me. Not because I didn't want to give it up. It's because I didn't know how to lead leaders at that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, from that perspective, as far as like having a mentor, a business mentor, as I was growing, obviously for me it was Alex,
Yeah.
and it was the same thing. Like you said, she had these beautiful centers. She was the most beautiful, well put together, well dressed woman, successful woman I had ever met in real life, honestly. And I was like, oh my goodness, how did she do that? I didn't even know having multiple centers back then was a thing. Like you could own multiple centers, and like, how do you run multiple centers? So yes, she was definitely a huge mentor for me, still is, to this day. And I remember her telling me that I needed to have, I think she said $100,000 or something like that in a bank account before I could expand. And at
Okay.
that time, I had $10,000 in my bank account and
Oh,
payroll.
yeah,
I
for
was like, what? $100,000? Who's ever gonna have $100,000?
Right.
But that was a great tool for me, because it slowed me down and it caused me to really focus. And several other things I learned from her. But yes, having that person, and then having groups that came from that, and all of that. But I mean, like, for me, in my company, where I realized that we needed a mentorship program was when we started losing people. Like, before the pandemic and everything happened, we didn't lose teachers. Like, we
Right.
had really low retention, or really, really high retention, really low turnover. We had like a lot of like moms that were teachers, and they started with me because they wanted a discount. Their kids went to preschool
Right.
there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's how I started too. And they were fabulous. I still have some of them actually to this day. They were fabulous teachers and moms, and they went to our church, and it was just this big community, right? But then as we started to grow, and like the pandemic hit and everything like that, we started having more turnover, and we started having all these new teachers with really no education or experience. They liked kids, those kind of people. And we would have training, and then I learned how to do onboarding. And so we had onboarding and training, but I was the trainer. And so that's not scalable, right? And so I was the trainer. But what I started noticing is, when it wasn't me who was their trainer, mentor, person all the way through, that I couldn't duplicate that in my business. And so we started losing people at like the 1 year mark. They would get to like 1 year, and then they'd be like, this isn't for me anymore. And they'd go into a different field, or we would have like the stepping stone people, like they're in nursing, or they're going to school to be an elementary teacher or whatever. So that we would be like their stepping stone. So that's when I started to realize we need a mentor program, and our company needs to be full of mentors, because not only is that going to help our new staff feel connected, learn more, learn longer, but also it's going to help those mentors, because it's training them to be leaders, and it's putting them into our leadership pipeline to be ultimately, top level leaders in our company. And as we scale and grow, we've got a company that's full of leaders, and they're always ready. And we're training them how to be leaders, because that's something that we don't do in our industry. We just don't.
Yeah. So I will say that I early on, probably second or third year in our business, in like when we started to really push the pedal on scaling,
Mhm.
I started delegating a lot of that stuff out. And I found really great people that I, led and mentored and managed at the leadership level for sure. And then we started a teacher mentorship program, which really helped because we were Montessori. And so, part of Montessori training is 700 hours of mentorship under somebody, right? In order for us to get our credentials. And so that we started in-house, and that was super helpful for our teacher level leaders, because first of all, a really great Montessori teacher, the best thing you could do is make them a mentor. They love, that is such a give back for them. They just love it. And it's so great for a new teacher to have that touch base. Now, I know you're talking more of a leadership level, but we started really at that level where the mentorship was frontline, and the mentorship was we were in inverted triangle leadership style. So we believed in servant leadership since day one. And so due to that inverted style, we always started with children and families. So the first contact for children and families was our teachers. And so we really put a lot of mentorship on them first. Like you, I spent a lot of time with the leaders, like growing and mentoring that perfect next leader. And then the teachers that were shining in the mentorship program, those are the teachers we started to we called it our TCH farm program, and we farmed them in-house. So we started to collectively manage and nurture these in-house leaders. So we organically grew 90% of our leaders, which I think for us was natural, but also maybe a little bit lucky that, we just had that vision early on. But it was a very slow process of growth in terms of leadership, because we didn't ever have a formalized step-by-step leadership program. We just were like, we need leaders, we need mentors at the teacher level. And so we started that. And then it was a little bit by a little bit, but it was also a lot of time, right? Like making that program and trying to figure out, okay, well, who's going to run the program? And then who's going to, what are the KPIs? Like, how do we know this program is working? And so I think we should talk about what you have coming up, because I think it's super lucrative and a great idea for in-house growth, that we didn't have a program like that, right? Or we didn't have a reference point. I'd say we had to make all this on our own, which is why it took 10 years to grow as well, right? All the pieces that you're just, when you're slow growing and you're the person trying to manage the managers and the managers trying to manage the mentees, it does take a long time, and you don't have a lot of creative time. I mean, that's what it is as an owner, right? You're trying to do all the things. So let's talk about what you have coming up, Miss Rachel, because I feel like this is just going to be a game changer for so many folks in especially this industry.
Yeah. So, like I said, most companies don't have a mentorship program and don't realize how much they need it. Well, but 92% of Fortune 500 companies offer mentoring programs. So, those Fortune 500 companies have figured this out, and we have been able to scale and grow so much more when we put in a mentor program. So, how it works is we have, just like what you were saying, Julie, frontline. So our mentors in our program are teachers. They're not in the office. They're not, they don't have a special desk job or anything like that. We give them a certain amount of hours that they can meet with their mentees, and, they can go to lunch with them or whatever. But they're in the front lines, just like the rest of the teachers. And I did that on purpose because I want them on the front lines, because they're in this level where they're kind of like I call it the middle bench. So basically they have people on the front lines that are coming to them, and they hear all, see all, all of that. And then they've got the leaders that are coming to them. So they're almost like the voice of the front line that carries it to the leaders, so that things don't get lost in translation as much or forgotten. Somebody might say, we've got 27 people in our building, so they might say, oh, this is happening, or I need help with this, or I need this resource or whatever, to the director, and then they forget. Or
would you say that is like a liaison then for both levels for you as an owner?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's vital, because it's also vital to the culture, because it keeps the culture strong, because that middle bench is so influential. They have so much influence because they're on the front lines, but they also have that leadership. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, well, as you're talking, I'm thinking, because, I'm always like trying to bring all these ideas together, but I'm thinking as you're speaking, they're almost like the navigators of the
Mhm.
ship, right? So like you could almost call them your navigators, because they are responsible for the overall health and wealth and, connection in this business. And they're the ones kind of orchestrating the direction things are going in by what they're hearing from both levels. And they're helping make those informed decisions you need as a leader or an owner, right? Because you're not hearing all those things, hopefully,
Yeah.
still, if you're scaling, right?
And then
So,
there's a book called The Tipping Point, by Malcolm Gladwell, and it talks about the law of the few in a company. And there's the social connectors, the mavens, and the salespeople. Your mentors are your mavens. So these are the ones, they have the information. They know maybe a little bit more, they have a little bit more experience, but they're able to connect to, like you said, the leaders and the people on the front lines and be a voice for both. But because their influence is so strong, they can go up or down.
and
So
I
they
love,
can be easily influenced negatively, but they have to know that they have great responsibility with their influence to affect the company in a huge positive way.
yeah, I love that. I also think that because there's so many challenges in running, let's say a childcare center, but any business, right?
Mhm.
There's no way to know all those challenges because you're not the front line. You're not dealing with the things like we implement all these things as owners, like we're going to come back from a conference and implement 56,000 things. And our team's already like overwhelmed, overloaded. And I talk about this all the time because that was me. I'd come home and be like, we're going to put 6 new things in place by next Monday, and they're like, yeah, okay, why don't you get in our classroom for a minute and figure out what's going on, right? And so I think it's really important that they help navigate the direction of the challenges as well. I feel like that's such an incredible just piece to have, because as owners, we miss a lot of that.
Well, and they are your brand ambassadors as well. So, and I talk a lot about brand ambassadors, especially. We just had a huge social media crisis that went on in one of my regions, and having our brand ambassadors was vital during that piece, vital to keeping our culture together. Not only our staff, but our customers, because they're the ones that people are going to go to. And they can also, like I said, easily slip. So they can easily be negatively influential as well. So that's why having a mentor program, which is what I have coming out next week, is very important, because it teaches them the things that they need to know and how much responsibility they have as a mentor. And it teaches them how to be a leader. How I created this program can be like out of the box. You can just give it to your mentors or the people that you think will be mentors in your program, or you can take it yourself and develop your own mentor program, tweak it however you might. It is based on childcare because that's what my industry is. However, it can be used for any industry. And the way that I created the videos and the modules is that it can be created for any industry. It's just because it's teaching them how to be leaders. I have the very end talks about specifically childcare, and it has guides for childcare, but mostly the whole entire thing is all about teaching them how to be leaders, how to navigate those critical conversations, how to use their influence in a positive way, and how to be brand ambassadors, and all of those different things that are very important to being a leader. And that creates your pipeline, like we said, for your next level of leadership.
So
And
I was just going to say one thing, Rach, because I want people to know I went through your workbook. So I haven't done the whole course, but I had a quick peek, and I love just that you can either do it yourself, you can do it with others, or you can have it kind of done for you almost, right? So I like that there's those 3 options. Like you can take the whatever route that works best in your company, because some people just want it done for you. And if literally they pick that up and they could share it with their leaders, it's kind of done for you. You could tweak it to be done with you, meaning you do it and you add your own core values and mission and things in there, but you still have the framework, right? But you can tweak that, and you can just do it yourself, use the backbone of it, and create your own mentorship program. So there's really like 3 awesome ways to use this program. And I think it's really versatile. So not only for childcare, but I think you can use it in, like you said, other avenues. The other thing I liked, I wrote a little note about it here, about how your middle bench or your middle managers, like how much of a critical role, right, they play in developing talent. So we don't talk about this a lot, but they are the ones that are going to be like, hey, Judy, she's doing really well. She's really strong at.
Yeah.
There's a role, right, that we can bring her in for. Or, hey, this one's really great at sales or parent communication or customer experience or the journey or whatever. And so those new roles, as they come up and you're writing those JDs, you're pulling in those personality traits of those folks that those middle managers basically are developing those talents for you to develop another role for them, right? And so they're almost pre-identifying folks that you need as you scale, right? And so a lot of people don't think about how important that is, but think about how when you have people that are ingrained in your culture and understand all the things, right? DKZ, why would you want to take TCH employees, you know what I mean? Or TTH staff down the street to come into DKZ and be like, well, hey, we don't know the culture. We're not used to all this support or whatever it is, right? I'm just making an example. So those are the things that I really pulled. Also, obviously, the mentoring of like junior employees to raise up in that space, but preparing your farm or your teams for future leadership roles. I don't think we focus enough on the importance of that as owners and as we scale, and how much easier it is for you by using a program like this instead of trying to do this all by yourself, and creating the whole thing from scratch. The problem is we don't have time, right? We don't have time for that. So like
a year to develop this. So,
if this program was in effect, 20 years ago when I was trying to do this, it would have saved me tons of time, tons of like restarts, because we would do something and then it wouldn't work and we'd have to restart. We didn't have a framework, right? So, I mean, of course I love you, but I do think this product, besides that fact, is a really good option for folks to put in place, especially having that backbone to start with, even if it's not perfect for you. Like, they have to understand, like, this may not fit check all the boxes for you in every area, because you may want to do something different. But once you have that, it's so much easier to tweak it than to just create the whole product. And by the way, the price is like unbelievable. Like, I'm trying to have Rachel charge more for this, because I'm like, I would have paid a lot for this program as an owner, just because of the time it saves. And, as owners, our time is everything, right? And you have to spend your time wisely. And sometimes it's like fires are first, right? So the things that are creative like this, the things that really help you with the base and foundation of your business, they don't get the attention because we just don't have the time. So
yeah. I liked what you said about developing talent. And that is actually part of the course. I have a section called multipliers versus diminishers. And it's teaching them all about how to be a multiplier versus a diminisher, and how to look for those different talent, and how to take, instead of being the tyrant leader, or the hoarder of supplies and resources, and how to take that talent and multiply it within the organization, and how to spot the talent and see, like, oh, this person's really good at social media. Let's have her kind of be our social media person.
Right. Yeah. Like, why are you find someone that is not good at that? Right. Yeah, no, I love that. I also love the idea of, as an owner, I want innovators. I want creatives on my team, because I can be innovative and creative, but I have 900 innovation and creation ideas going on in my head. I love innovators and creators at each level in the company. And I think by doing this mentorship type style program, I think you are able to get those levels of creativity and innovation frontlining up, which is really, something that not a lot of non-Fortune 500 companies. Of course, Fortune 500 companies are Fortune 500 companies because they have creators and innovators in every single person that works with them, right? And they're fostering that by mentorship. So I love the continuous improvement addiction, in the business. And I think that it's just going to help you as an owner, but also the financial viability and stability of your company is going to be so much greater when that foundation has a culture of innovation, creativity, and just pushing for change and more knowledge and newness, right? I think that keeps everybody really motivated. So I love this idea, and I'm so excited for owners in all industries, but particularly, the childcare industry that we have come from. It is really challenging to create this on your own. So having those extra resources in this course as well that they can just plug and play is going to be game changing for folks.
Yeah, and how I created it was from our challenges, from where our pain points are, from where our, issues that we're having, but also from coaching other teams and seeing like where their pain points were. So I've redone my mentorship program several times to get to this point to where we are now based on what I think is going to be best for moving forward. Also, as I've scaled, I've added more things into it too, because when you're just a single site or, maybe one or two sites, you have a different level of mentorship and leadership in place than you do with 10 sites and different regions. So that's something that they need to learn as well.
Bella, I can hear them. Cuties. That's okay. What I was going to say though, Rach, too, is I love that for us, setting performance standards was really important, right? At all the levels. And so that mentorship program also, via having these human standards of performance in place, I think is just game changing, right? Is you're like, they know exactly what the expectation looks like to be this type of leader, to be that type of leader. The other thing I like that you said, and that I think is really important, is during the mentorship, this might have been in your document actually, but providing feedback, along the way on how to create those really awesome moments of mentee-ish relationships, but also you're giving feedback to mentors, right? So it's kind of this whole process of the communication has to be really tight, I think, and right. As we said, everything needs to be tight and right for it to work. But I like the setting standards. I like the accountability. I like the feedback loop in the program, because those are things we often miss just because we don't have the time.
Yeah. So. Yes. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say too, is I have two things coming out next week. I have the course, which is it's evergreen. So you can use it as many times as you want for as many mentors as you want. But then I also I had a pilot program that I did for a whole year of mentor coaching. And so I'm rolling that out to the public next month too, to where I will do mentor coaching. So if you have a group of mentors that you want coached, I meet with them 45 minutes and it's for 8 weeks. 45 minutes a week, and we can do it early in the morning because that's how we've been doing it with this other group that I've been doing. And that has been game changing as well, because then they're learning to be a leader. They're going through the course. They're doing all of the things, but then they get a coach on top of it that's helping them. So they can come to you, and then I assign them homework and based on whatever they're going through to help them be better mentors. I'm doing this also for my own schools, which is something that I've never done before. And then I'm going to be training one of our trainers to take over that process for me. But just having a mentor coaching group and a director coaching group so that they have that ongoing coaching, like you said, that ongoing feedback that they're getting, because they might be doing something that's either wrong or great and somebody else needs to learn about it and we need to know. Sorry about that.
That's okay. No, she's so cute. Anyways, mine is at the trainer today, so we're quiet over here at the Roys. Although I probably have 4 kids somewhere, but anyway, what I also wanted to say just before we, close on the mentorship program part is that I feel like the strength of the leadership programs in scaling is super important. Why I'm going to talk about this a little bit from the sales point of view and the exit point of view. What happens is, and I've acquired and I've started new and I've grown organically. So I've done like literally the gamut of all the things. When you're in acquisitions, you buy a company for a certain EBITDA or multiple. If you don't know what that is, it's basically your income, your bottom line. Let's call it your net operating income. It's a little easier than talking about taxes and amortization and depreciation, but let's call it your net value of what you're doing. And they assign a multiple to that, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever they think that it's worth. That multiple is hugely based on your absenteeism in the company, meaning not that you're absent from the company, don't know what's going on, and are like on a beach 24/7, because that's how you lose your company.
Right.
But you're connected, but you're not integral in the daily operations of your business. And so what people don't understand is that if you don't have levels of leadership, if you don't have a scalable operating system, which means people, execution, strategy, cash. If you don't have the right people in the right seats, in the right places that are doing the things that you need them to do as you scale, one, your house will crumble.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen numerous people talk about scaling quickly, talk about scaling, responsibly. It's not responsible to scale quickly if you don't have the foundation. The house of cards will not remain standing. I am coaching and helping people daily that call me because their house of cards has fallen in. And it's like legit Katy Perry at this point, the house of cards have fallen in and we're trying to help. But once you come to me in chapter 11 or 12 and your people are a mess, there's not much I can do to help. Honestly, that is not my forte at that point. But why I'm saying this is because when you're going to sell, if a private equity is going to buy you, or even another mom and pop, like Rachel's done acquisitions this year. I've done them, I've done mom and pops. I've been acquired by private equity. We've had all gamuts. I will tell you, it doesn't change. People are not going to pay a higher multiple if you are the business.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the business, I'm telling you right now, you are not going to sell for anything except maybe your FF&E. Because if you are the business and you leave, the business is worth zero. So the only thing I can tell you from the standpoint of expansion, scaling, and legacy wealth, if that is your end game, if it's not, then you can ignore everything I've said. But if you want to sell your business after working really hard for a number of years, you need to figure out how that business is going to run in every single level without you. So if you're the one managing all the leaders and you leave, and the leaders aren't managed anymore, the private equity company or the new mom and pop aren't going to be able to come in and pick up that piece. They're not going to do it. Like private equity doesn't even want to do it. They'll tell you right up front, that's not something that they will do. They ask you what your leadership style is, what it looks like, who's responsible for what. And if your name is on every single line in that, because they're going to give you a huge long questionnaire. I mean, I even do it when I buy organically, right? I want to know who does what, when, how. If your name is, this
So
person,
this.
Rachel, accountant, Rachel, sweeper, Rachel, teacher, Rachel, that company is not for sale.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for sale. So just something to keep in mind, because I don't think a lot of owners realize the impact that will have even on their exit or their legacy wealth. So something to just keep in mind.
And I'll add to that it's not that everything in your business needs to run on a system, not a person. There needs to be people in place, but there needs to be systems that go along with what these people are doing. So, we have done acquisitions this year, and some of them are like, oh, so-and-so did that. Well, how did so-and-so do that? I don't know. That was so-and-so's thing. Well, how are we going to do that? Like, we need to get this done. And nobody else knew how to do it in the company. Nobody else knew, like different management things, nothing financial, nothing. They knew nothing. And so it was just like, well, how am I going to find out? Like, you guys have to teach me as the new owner. And so having a mentorship program is so important, and having different layers of leadership, because yes, if you want to sell, but also as you're acquiring new schools, if I didn't have the systems in place in my current schools to have an onboarding, to have a mentorship program, to have, all of these job descriptions already written, I would crumble, like you're saying, Julie, or I would be in operations 24/7 to try to figure it out, which I don't want to do that either. But as you grow, also training your new team as you acquire.
Mhm.
I'm on the acquiring side, not the selling side, that if the old owner or owners were the people that were doing everything, you have to teach them that just because I'm the new owner doesn't mean my job description is everything that the old owners did.
Mhm.
We have different layers of leadership in our company in place, so on purpose, and we
Mhm.
have systems and processes. So now all of those things that the old owner was doing are now being done by these layers of leadership.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's something that needs to be trained as well, but you have
And
to
I
have
was going to
this
say
first.
the importance of the owner in that role, the new owner must take the time, which people don't do, and teach those people that's not how this process is going to work. So,
Mhm.
for example, like when I left the Montessori's, I did a lot of the financial stuff because I still had a lot. That was really the umbrella I never really gave up, to be honest.
Me too.
Um, and so when I left, they had to refurnish a new classroom. My team doesn't know how to do that because Miss Julie loved that part. And so I always refurnished all the classrooms. I bought all the materials. There was no POs. It was my credit card buying those materials. They asked what the PO process was 2 days after I left, like the company that purchased us. And I was like, we don't have PO process because I buy everything,
Yeah.
but pretty much. I mean, at that level, right? At anything over $10,000, that was my wheelhouse. And I didn't put anyone in place or train them 6 months before, like our regional or Amy or someone could have easily taken that role. But I didn't even think of that. That was something I just naturally did. And so really important too, to list out the things that you do before you sell and understand that you're going to have a process to fix that before new owners come in. And I know people are like, well, why should I care? You should care because it's your legacy, and you should care because you're selling a product for a multiple, and you should be responsible, right? At the end of the day. And when you were talking about standardizing procedures, systems ensure standardized procedures, right? So processes lead to consistent and repeatable results. And like we talk about that all the time, right? So if you don't have a system in place, you don't have consistency. If there's no consistency in your business, you cannot scale, period.
Yeah.
It's just what's going to happen. It will fall apart, right? So automation, all the things that we didn't automate, right? Initially as owners, having automation makes those systems scalable and repeatable. You can't have all of that if you're the one doing all of the things. You need data. Like I didn't have a lot of data. My first 10 years, the first school set, my data was whatever I knew.
Yeah.
The next set, we scaled much more quickly. We scaled a lot faster, and we sold for a lot more money because we had KPIs, we had performance tracking, we had analytics, we had data, we had all kinds of stuff, Rachel, that we never had before.
Yeah.
We had a CRM, never had that in place. I was like, we're so good, we don't need a CRM, right? And then I put a CRM in place and was like, holy crow, like it's so much easier to manage relationships and data and all the things. Sales pipeline. I just created a sales program that we're going to help with numerous industries, but I did Grant Cardone's training, which has helped me quite a bit in that area, but just creating a sales process. People don't even understand that the sales process it doesn't matter if you're in childcare, a service, a retail, like it doesn't matter if you're in service or you're selling a product, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You need a sales pipeline and a process, and you need to know the steps in management of that.
Yeah.
Consistency in all of that stuff, and that is what creates scalability. So if you think that you're doing all this stuff as you're listening to me thinking, oh shoot, I'm doing this and this and that, you cannot scale without the consistency. You can't scale without the collaboration of other leaders, that middle bench that Rachel's talking about, the mentorship program that she's talking about, all the things I'm talking about for sale, exit, legacy wealth. If you don't have this mentorship program in place, or you're not leading leaders, you're not creating leaders, you're not creating innovation at every level in your company, it will stop. Like you will be stagnant because you cannot grow past that. One, because you won't have the people pipeline, you won't have the communication, you won't have the collaboration, you won't have the leadership systems in place. You're going to be stuck because you can't take on more schools and acquire like 10 schools in 3 years if you don't have a solid foundational base. We went from, 0 to 10 schools in less than 3 years and a huge exit. You cannot do that without all the things we just talked about. And so a mentorship program, if you have a formalized mentorship program, that helps farm all those leaders into the positions that you need to create the foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't have that either. And we were stuck too. We were stuck for years. Like you said, your first set, it took you 2 years to grow. I mean, we were stuck for years too. And it was that hamster wheel of, hiring and training and same thing over and over and over again, and then trying to figure out different training tactics and but that's not what it is. It was that middle bench. It's the mentorship that's really, part of the secret of scaling. It's
Yeah.
systems, processes, and all that. But then when your company is full of leaders and full of brand
Mhm.
ambassadors, and they're the ones doing the systems and making the systems happen, and you're tracking it, like you said, with data, KPIs, scorecards, and all of that, then you can just keep growing because your people are what's going to grow your business. And if
Your
you don't
people are everything. I've been saying that for like 30 years now. Your people are everything. Your people are your business. The other thing I like about that, in this model that you have, I think it prioritizes the customer and the employee experience and journey. Both of those, if you read anything about business, increase loyalty, right? So when you're pouring into your people and your customers, and their experience is what we always aimed for, what was called excellence, right? In everything we did. And so everything had to be based in an excellence portfolio, profile, whatever you want to call it. So if you want excellence in your products, you have to have loyalty from your customers and from your team.
right.
Building that positive customer or employee experience or journey is huge for loyalty and satisfaction. Those people will stay with you. And people are always complaining, well, we can't hire people won't stay. What are you doing to support a system, right, that creates this seamless positive experience? Like we also put in place something called the CXO. We talked about that, like the customer and employee experience officer, basically managing and ensuring that that customer and that employee had a seamless and joyful and positive experience. And if they didn't, we had to go back to the foundation and create leaders that had to maybe change things in order for that to happen. So it's not just about profit, because yes, it does increase sales and revenue. That is inevitable. You will increase sales and revenue when you have effective leaders and effective systems and effective processes. But at the end of the day, like, what is their experience, right? It has to be a strategic and intentional thought process and commitment is what I'm looking for the owner. Mm-hmm.
We have that position because you told me about that. It's called Executive Experience Education Officer, and her role, she is also a professional development specialist. So she's also our in-house trainer. So just like I said, the middle bench is kind of like the liaison in between leaders and the front lines. Our EXO is integral in that as well, because she's a leader, a top level leader, but she's also going to be the one who's training them. So she's taking their feedback and she's the one training them. And that duplicated me because that used to be me. That was my position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yep.
that is helping us scale as well, because now she can take our systems, processes, all of that and train them, but then she's training more people, and that's, scalable and duplicatable.
Right.
And having this course that I have for all of you, that's going to help you too, because it's duplicatable. Like, you can take another group of mentors and they can watch the course and then they can do it again. So you don't have to have somebody constantly training people.
And let's talk about the competitive advantage of having the course. Like, let's just put that right out there, because there are not leaders that will be investing in your course. There will be people not creating so a big thing about what I do in the growth section is we really measure sustainable growth in the company.
Mhm.
We measure it on a financial basis. What is our sustainable growth percentage? Take away the financial part of that. The sustainable growth percentage is equally managed, equally, I can't really even remember the words today that I want to say, but it is fostered by sustainable growth by creating excellence in culture.
Mhm.
Like people don't really understand that the sustainability and the percentage of growth is directly related to the ability for you to create this culture of excellence and to leverage all these efficient systems in your business. Without both of those, you cannot achieve sustainable growth.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be negative Nancy over here because I feel like that's what I'm doing. But I feel like in order for you to have a competitive advantage, you need to have those things in place. You have to have a culture of excellence, a culture of innovation, a culture of creativity. You have to leverage all of your efficient systems, right, to create this really great space by having a mentorship program in place and by leveraging, basically it's leveraging an efficient system.
Mhm. And
So
speaking of leveraging, that is exactly what I talk about in the course. It's leveraging your
you
talent.
know that, Miss Rachel. I'm gonna take this
So,
course.
yes.
But
So
it's true, right?
yes, it's leveraging talent. And Generation Z, which is who we're getting right now as our new workforce, they are talented and they're innovative, like you said, they're creative. They want to make a difference in the world. So if you are just like, here, do this job, they're gonna quit. They're gonna get bored. They're gonna find something else. They're not leaving because they're making $1 more an hour. That's not why they're leaving.
They don't even care,
They don't
honestly.
have purpose and they're bored.
Yep.
Okay. So, in order for you to leverage their talent,
Yep.
you need to have mentors in place so that you can see where the talent is and maybe make them mentors. My daughter is one of our directors and she's 21 years old. So, it doesn't matter how old people are. It's not because she's my daughter. She has a degree, all the things.
No,
She's
and she's
very
been working in
talented.
the company organically. She's been growing in the company organically. Again, leveraging the talent that you have, whether it is familial or not, you
Mhm.
need to leverage the right people. And you're leveraging the people that have come up the ranks, that know your mission, vision, value, that are dedicated and committed to it. Like if your daughter's not, who the heck is going to be, right? So like that's great for owners to know too, that like this is also to grow your own family if they're the right people in the company to grow. A couple things I just wanted to mention about buying a mentorship program that I think I wrote some notes about the importance of like why, sorry, kids are walking by, why I would even buy a mentorship program. So I wanted to kind of just let people know that. So I love the idea of accelerated learning and development. Like, why am I going to do this on my own if there's a product I can buy? And you may want to mention the price or not, but I mean, it is very affordable. I feel like it's for the value you've over delivered. I feel like there's some expert skill and some guidance in there from you that they don't have to recreate, right? I feel like if you have a program, you're able to put this support system in place. Like, I feel like it could be a support system for your company as well as this mentorship program. I feel like having that system will support things that you maybe don't know that need support in the company because you're not connected at all those levels, or you shouldn't be, right? So, and then at the end of the day, just problem solving and making better decisions, because you're going to be able to have the ability to see through those blind spots or holes in your company once you have this mentorship program running. So those are just some of the things, obviously personal growth, all the things that come with it. But as a leader, as an owner, I would take all of that in account, because your employee development and the ability for you to pour into your employees is really going to be the game changer, for your company. So I just wanted to, just give some ideas about why you should even think about buying a mentorship program, because people may not understand the value, or maybe they don't understand like why they need to do that. And they think they're doing it all really well on their own. We're not. Like, we're just not. We created that mentorship program like 10 times. Like,
Yeah.
really a lot of time was put in. And even at the end, it still wasn't perfect. Like, we were constantly tweaking it. So had I had the availability to buy a framework, that would have been game changing, for us. So I appreciate that you've done that for so many people, Rachel, because it was a big project for you as well to create that. So,
well, and it's good for my own team because, like I said, it used to be me. I was doing the 8-hour mentor training before. I was the mentor coach, before. And so I needed to create a framework for us that was better and scalable as well. And I just wanted to say it is $9.97. So
Mhm.
from this podcast, we're going to give a discount code. So you'll be able to get that on the description or something. I don't know how to do all
You
that.
know what the code's going to be, Rach?
Yeah, it's going to be in the YouTube description.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. Let's make
And
sure it's in
the
the
looks in description, which means it'll go to all the podcasts
Excellent.
in the
Okay.
magical world of technology.
Yeah.
So, just real quick, who the course is for. It's just like Julie said, it's if you're an owner or an entrepreneur or a leader that wants to have your own training and you want to develop your own training, you can take the course and develop your own based on what I have in it. Or if you have a company and you want to just give it as a box training to your middle bench, your mentors, that's available for that too. Or you're a current mentor and you're wanting more training on leadership, or you want to become a mentor and you want to work on your own professional development. It's for you as well. So yes, we will have a discount code for $100 off, and it will be in the description somewhere. So it'll magically appear.
So pay attention. No.
Yes. And yeah, so I want to do our health, wealth, and happiness tips for this episode. So, Julie, how about you start with that?
Okay, so my health tip of the day is make sure you spend some vacation time with your family this quarter. We are about to leave tomorrow, so we've got some stuff to fix today and get ready for. But my health tip would be take that time out to enjoy your kiddos or your family or your spouse or your partner during the summertime. Just commit to having some downtime that you're really kind of like shut down. Zoe and I are doing an incredible Mommy and Me mentorship with Bethany Hamilton, who I don't know if you know, was bitten by the shark, lost her arm, was in the movie. And we've been doing a year-long spiritual mentorship with her. That has been really helpful. We meet with other moms and daughters, and we do a 3-day surfing event in Kauai with her. And that's going to be our start of our summer vacation. So I feel like that's going to be a really good connection. Zoe's just a new teen. And so, different challenges that we have as moms going through that. So really, really excited to spend that time with her. Bo's taking the boys to Kona, different island, and having a boy venture with them, which I think is going to be super cool too. And then we're going to meet up together and then spend a few weeks together in Hawaii. So long story short, yeah. So health, just take some time out and really focus on things that matter.
So for wealth, I would say that, just like we talked about mentorship, in order for you to be able to scale your business and also have that, I can't remember what you said, Julie, but just the growth.
Oh, sustainable growth percentage.
Sustainable growth. Thank you. Sustainable growth in your business, you really do need a mentor program, and it needs to be a system and not just somebody training them every time, because that's not sustainable growth. So I think that's the good wealth tip for this week. And happiness, I would say get in the sunshine, because sunshine is going to bring you joy. It brings me joy.
Baby.
I'm going to the lake this weekend. Hopefully we have sunshine to be in the sunshine. So get in the sunshine, take some time off, go on a vacation with your family, take some downtime with your family, and get a mentor program so that you can have that sustainable growth. So good.
Absolutely. And I want to say for happiness for me is when I'm by water, I just feel super grounded. And so being near the ocean for me is something that I'm going to eventually live on the ocean. That is my eventual goal. But right now, being able to ground myself with the ocean and nature and just it really makes me happy. So I'm really excited to do that too. So you with the lake, me with the ocean, but it's the water theme. But we want to wish you a super happy summer. We'll be back here in a couple weeks to hop back on and guide you through some more business stuff, but going to take some time this week with my kiddos and be super intentional about being present present with Zoe the next couple of days on that special adventure we have. So, Rach, I know you two are very protective of your summer. So we'll do the best we can to pop in and out throughout, just to keep you guys updated on all the things going on. But yeah, just really enjoy yourselves. Take that moment to create, some really wonderful memories and ground yourself in some happiness. So thanks again for coming on. And if you want Rachel's product, it will be in mentorship program. It will be in the link and the comments. And so if you can't find them, you know where to find Rach. And we'll also pop the link in the community, Rachel, the Glam and Grind community. If anyone wants to join, it is still free. It's pretty awesome. If you want to jump in there, there's also a link somewhere, I think, in another podcast, but we can pop the link back in this one as well. And I think those are all the housekeeping things, Rach. Anything else?
I mean, we're still looking for podcast guests.
Oh, right.
So, yeah.
I have probably about 100 people that have emailed us. So we really do need to get better about scheduling them all. And I'm going to have my EA is actually, I've just finally given her Calendly access. So we are working on a Calendly access just for Glam and Grind so they can just book sessions with us. And so we'll just have to cross collaborate, I think.
Okay. Perfect.
Yes, but if you want to be on and you have something you need everyone to know about, please pop in. Let us know. Email us at Julie or Rach, whatever one, Julie@glamandgrind.com or Rachel@glamandgrind.com. And I think that's it. Is it, Rach? I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Or Rachel.
Yeah, it'll be the link in the comments. We're so bad with this, both of us. But yes, hop on, or, you can go to our website, glamandgrind.com. You can pop in there. That'll give you a direct link to going on the podcast. So we'd love
find us on social.
Oh yeah. Or find us on social. That's always a great place to follow us too, because there's always tons and tips and tricks. Rachel always has really great leadership, really great stuff on there.
Stuff every day.
You have lots of stuff. So just follow us if you want, some free nuggets, some tips and tricks. And we can't wait to see you guys again.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.